Well, hey, John, thanks for joining me here today to have a conversation about web development and the association world. There's a lot going on with AI and a million other things. So thanks for joining me. Looking forward to having a deep conversation about the world of the web.
Sounds great. Happy to be here.
Cool. I want you to introduce yourself at some point here, but I like to just jump right in and start talking about the topic. So let's talk about it a little bit. Right now, if an association is looking at their website and saying, we need to do this better, it doesn't look as great, the content is this and it's that. What does it mean to do a website redesign right now for an association? 2026, that's something we want to do. What does that even mean? What should they be thinking about?
Yeah, I think it's always a sort of challenging situation because typically for an association, they're looking at doing this. They should be looking at doing it like every 4 years at least, but a lot of times it goes longer. And so every time they come into this sort of process, they have to like reacclimate and think about, okay, what are the challenges? How do we go through this? And there are two sides to it, I think. The first side is things that never change, right? And
Mm,
with an association, you see really common things like we're trying to build member engagement. A lot of times what kicks these off is a technology change. Their license is going out of date and they want to try a new platform. They change their AMS or something like that. So there's always this question around integration and being able to integrate everything smoothly, keep the new technology you want while changing the old technology that you don't want. So I think there's things that they're going to be true every single time an association goes through the website,
mhm.
around needs, around engaging members, around communicating value, around authority, and those are all sort of central. But every time they come around this problem, there's always new stuff, right? There's always something new. Early on for me, when we were building websites, one of the new things was responsive websites, right? So it's that sort of technology cycle, and then it's accelerating with AI and all these features that are available. But I think as long as you start from the core of like what's really essential with what we're doing, that's what you should be thinking about. What are we really trying to communicate? Where do we provide value? And then beyond that, the website's really an opportunity for many associations through technology that's developing, but also for things that have already existed. There's this opportunity to build value. And as time passes, and this has been true my entire career, it's probably been true your entire career, but as time passes, there's a growing expectation of being able to get value online. And so every time this 4-year cycle, 5-year cycle comes around, I think that one of the key questions that an association professional should consider is how can we build value beyond our journal? How can we build value beyond the big annual event? How can we build value in this digital property? And I think that is an important question because if you don't build value with that growing expectation of I'm going to be able to find this online, you'll start to experience attrition as people seek alternative solutions, right? Private communities, thought leaders, podcasts, courses. So if you're not providing it, they're going to start looking for it somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. So specifically, sort of what does an association's website need to do for its members today? You're talking about expectations and value, but dig a little deeper on that. Are there things that you just say, hey, a lot of association websites aren't doing this and it really needs to be doing that?
I don't know. Honestly, I think it's a strategic question.
Mm,
Associations, they tend to think that they're all different. And I would agree to a point. Like if you're an association, you are similar to other associations and being a community, and especially with memberships and events, like these are things that are very common, but different associations have different strategic priorities and different ways of providing value. So as a really simple example, we've talked with associations, we've talked about like trying to build value on the website, and some things were just not on the table for them because their members did not look for those solutions online, right? If your demographic that you represent is only on Instagram and will never visit your website, that may change in the future, but that's like a strategic realization where you have to make choices around. So I don't think there's really like a one size fits all. There's there's a general consumer sentiment that is continually evolving and adapting, like Amazon. It changes how people think about how fast things should be delivered, how easy things should be able to purchase. And you definitely have to match that consumer sentiment with your website. So it has to be fast, it has to be easy to use, intuitive, really tight user experience, because that's what people expect. But beyond that, like specific features, whether it's an LMS or an online community, or having AI chat enabled or some sort of AI function or search, there's things that broadly apply, but they're not necessarily there's like no panacea or no like global approach because of how different associations can be.
So tell me about things that associations maybe are missing or not getting right on the site. Like what comes to mind, or what do you see the most of that they really need to be thinking about?
My perspective, and I don't see this hardly at all in associations or the other agencies that serve them, but my perspective is that as a small business, if I was in the business of communities, of membership, then I would think about my events, my membership, the things we're providing as products that have offers, right? And I think a lot of association professionals, they think I'm a nonprofit. This is what we do. This is how we've always done things. But you're competing with a wide variety of people in a wide variety of situations, private companies and nonprofits, individuals and groups. And you were selling something. You're selling community. You're selling connection to other people. And that's live through your events. It's through your website. It's through your online community. But the repercussions for that is that if I'm a small business and I'm like, this is what I'm selling, then I want to have a really good offer around it. And so one of the things that I see associations completely miss is the member benefits area, right? If I'm considering joining, maybe I've had a connection with an existing member, maybe I heard about it or saw it recommended somewhere, but I go to the association and I want to know why I should join. So I go to the member benefits page, and most associations think that this is like an explainer page. Explain what membership is, tell people about our journal, our event, our LMS, accreditation, the features, the things we do for our members. And it's not that at all. A member benefits page is a sales page. If I was a small business running an association, that's where I would sell membership. I would say, this is how it can transform your life. This is how it can make things better for you. And so I think that if we look at an association website, not all pages on it are of equal value. And the member benefits area specifically, that is one of the areas where you should really focus some time and think about what is valuable and who's it valuable to. And it's not your journal. It's not your event. It's not any of these features. It's what they do for people. So that's, I think, something that many associations miss. Very few people take the time to really think about their offer to members, and beyond that, even for the other items like events or some of the things you do for members, you really need to drill down on why it matters.
That's really good. That's really good, John. That's an eye. When you talk to people about that, I'm sure they're open their eyes and kind of say, wow, that's yes, right? Because there isn't a member benefits page I've ever seen that does that.
Yeah.
Once you hear you say it, it makes perfect sense. Okay, so that's something an association should think about. These are offers and you're selling, and the membership isn't about the laundry list, it's about the value, and sell that to a potential new member. What should associations think about now that we're in 2026 and beyond? What should they think about just not doing? Is there something that just stop doing that? I know this, you want to be strategic and it might work for one group that doesn't work for another. I get it, but like, is there just stuff that people should, is it like too much content and we don't need that much? Or what would you say that is?
In terms of what people shouldn't be doing, I think it's another one of those strategic questions. And it comes down a lot to your staff, to your capabilities, and also to your members. But my working theory with our current environment, with the rapid development of AI, is that what it's doing is it's proliferating competition. It's raising the bar for everybody. And part of the proliferation of competition is noise. So if for your newsletter to members, if you're using AI to do it, and it's no different than what they got if they went to AI directly, then that would be something I would definitely question, because they're going to be getting more and more of those. Like if there was too much content like 5 years ago, we're like drowning in content now, and it's not going to change. So I think that we're going to see this uh, like developing skill of tuning out information. Like how do we filter out information? How do we use AI to filter out information? How do we think more intentionally about what we consume? I was just on a call with an association that I'm a volunteer at, and they were talking about communication in the association. And one of the people on the call was like, "Oh, I haven't heard anything about this." And another person was like, "Well, did you read our newsletter?" And they're like, "No, I get like 5 of them. I don't read the newsletter. Like the subject line at best, I'm busy." And so, really, with all this noise and this increase in content out there, if you're going to penetrate that, you have to do things much better than you did previously. So in terms of like what you should stop doing, it's you may need to be a little bit narrower in terms of where you focus your efforts and raise the bar there, whether that's the newsletter, whether that's what you're doing on social media, what you're presenting on your website. You have to be able to differentiate from all the content out there in order to really effectively gather somebody's attention.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. Talking about the member benefits side of it, talking about important content. Is the homepage of an association's website their most important page of the website?
It can be. I mean, it often is. Like if you look at most websites for like an 80/20 distribution, 80% of the traffic is going to be coming through the homepage. So it's like a very strategic page in terms of what it does for your website. So value propositions, talking about how you're different, keeping people up to date, saying like this is the latest and greatest is really important for the homepage. And in terms of the member benefits, being able to like slide that in somewhere or feature it can be really effective. But just because it can be the most important page doesn't mean that it's always the most important page. Situationally, it can depend on the organization, the strategy, and the context. But it's
Yeah.
definitely one of the ones to take a close look at. Like that's always on the list of what are we going to say? It'll probably be always one of the most important pages, just not every time necessarily.
Yeah, it's a great point. And, we've talked about AI a little bit. And when we think about maybe a CMS like WordPress, and they're doing a lot of things out there in the AI world, associations right now are saying last year it was AI is this thing we need to know about. And this year and beyond for sure is how do we implement AI? And so just, broad strokes, but where is AI right now in web development? You know what I mean? Is it more for the back end in WordPress or a CMS, and that's a great place to kind of leverage it? Are there front end things that every association should be doing because they want that AI thing to say we did AI? Like just what's the feeling in your mind as to where an association should think about the web and think about AI? What's the intersection for you right now?
I think that my perspective on AI and technology, it's similar to what I was saying earlier about this continuing cycle of how websites evolve. And so my perspective is some things never change. Like you're always want to engage members. You're always going to want to provide value to members. Your members are always going to want a really good experience. And so these are the questions to organize around. Like, how do we do this? And the only real question regarding AI and technology is how do we do this today? How do we best do this now? I think it's very common. I saw this with crypto, right? We all experienced the crypto thing, and crypto was
Right.
so high. Everybody wanted to talk crypto. My new SaaS has crypto in it. This is a blockchain something where it didn't even matter. It didn't really matter. And the same thing's happening with AI. But I
Hmm.
would say the difference with AI is AI really is transformative. It's really providing amazing value. The good news, if you're an association professional and you're building a website right now or in the coming years, is that AI probably will have something to do with it. It's going to be part of the process. It's going to have to do with the technology, search, the conversational chatbots you might use on it. It's all going to be there because that's the current way to do it. That's the technology that's advancing. And for WordPress and some of these other systems, whether you intend to use AI or not, because it's so transformative, it's getting integrated into those systems. So it's becoming like this layer that is starting to permeate everything that we do. With WordPress, the API and the back end is starting to adjust and change so that it can open up possibilities with AI use, and that's something that's invisible to a user. So I think as long as you stay connected to the really core questions of what you're trying to do, you're naturally going to find the best current way to do it with AI. And a lot of that stuff's still evolving. There's new solutions that are coming out all the time. So it's really about like what's going to support it best today.
That makes a lot of sense. For an association that's listening and says, well, I get it, but we need to do some kind of AI and we want to do it with the website. Like, are there questions they should be asking, of their content, of their functionality? I mean, how does somebody strategically, because somebody on staff is forward thinking and they're like, we want to do something with AI and we're going to work with John on this, but we need to, for them to come to you, not just with ideas, but prepared and really
Mhm.
thoughtful around AI and their new website. What questions should they be asking of their staff, of the leadership? Guide them a little bit on the questions they need to ask. If they had the answers when they came to you, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah, I think in general, uh, the way I would think about it would be around existing models and open questions. With clients, we don't expect our clients to be experts in anything related to what we do, but we do want them to come with like some sort of open question or open mind. So rather than say, do it this way, we want them to come to us and say, like, what's possible? Could we do this? What's the ramifications of doing this? And so I think you don't necessarily have to bring the answers for something like this, but if you have a question, I think that's the better place to start for any technical project or for any project outside your area of expertise. The model side of this is that the people who are leading with AI, the people who are doing that are not small organizations. They're the really big organizations, right? So if you have a model and you say, gosh, I really like how Amazon does this sort of recommendation. That's sort of, they have a database, we have a database. Could we do this with our AMS? Is that possible? That'd be a good question to bring to us. Like, could we do this like Amazon this way? This is what we want to do. And what would be the ramifications of that? So that's how I would approach it. I think there's like that is a desire to just purchase innovation, to just bolt it on. I want to give you a check. Now we'll be innovating. I want to give you a check. Now we're using AI, right?
Hmm.
And to some extent, you can do that, but it has very low utility. So I think being really clear on what the value proposition is and understanding when you're innovating, like when we're going to be doing prototypes and experimenting and trying stuff out, or whether it's something with more like established legs underneath it, like AI search or an AI powered chatbot. Like these exist already. If you see them in the market, you're like, that'd be great for our organization. We could definitely, put that on for you. And then if you're looking to do something a little more interesting, a little more value creating,
Yeah.
then it's more where you come with models and questions.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. All right, Jen. So let's just take a quick minute in the middle of all this great information and insights that you're sharing. Totally appreciate it. But just tell everyone a little bit about you and about your company. And, the reason why we're talking today is because you've really got something to say in this market. And just tell people a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Yeah. So I started Steward in its original incarnation back in 2008. So that puts us a little pretty far down the line at this point. And Steward's a website development agency that serves associations. As far as I know, we're the only one that focuses on just associations like we do, building websites, providing custom web programming and support. Besides Steward on the side, I also have a technology startup, Beacon Tech Research, that helps associations choose their next AMS using technology. Steward provided the technology for that startup. And both businesses are in this market of associations because our mission is to use technology to support community. We really believe in community. I think it's a really powerful part of society that we can work together, address problems together, grow together. We're tribal animals, so this is how we do it through technology.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. I want to ask one more question. Just looking into the future, if you had a crystal ball, just talk about, I'm an association and we're in this AI world right now and I get it. I got to do something. I need a new website. I'm going to talk to John about it. But if they said, what does the future hold, John? We're going to build this site and be done by the end of 2026. But what does that even mean? What should we be thinking about? I mean, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, in the future. Well, first off, I'll say this with a caveat that I'm always wrong. I'm very bad about predicting the future. But I'll tell you a little bit of what I'm seeing right now. So on the small business side, I've talked with 3 other small business owners, a couple of them are agencies, and they're vibe coding tools to plug leaks in their organization. And I think we'll probably see that on the association side as well. If you have somebody on your staff doing this, there'll probably be somebody providing a service for this. And it's utility tools like we need to connect this system to that system. We need to create this sort of rapport. There are things that have always been sort of a stone in your shoe and you've been walking along with it. And now there's a solution. You don't have to be an expert. You can figure out a solution and implement it. So I think that there's going to be some operational improvements probably coming in like the next 3 years as people figure out like how to vibe code at that level and integrate those solutions. I think that the broad like trend of AI is that it's advancing faster than we can adapt to it. So we're going to be continually playing catch up, like on what it can do and how it can benefit us. But my suspicion in terms of your website is that in 5 years, probably in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, you may not need the support of a developer like Stewart to keep the website going. Like I could very much see you having a WordPress website and something breaks on it and you have a little AI chat in the back end and say like, hey, people are getting 404 errors on this page and 95% of the time they can fix it for you. So
Yeah.
the general, like the way websites started was sort of like a mannequin. It was just a structure. It was something you looked at. It was like art, right? Something you saw. When I started really getting into it and building websites, they were dynamic, which meant that they were more organisms and people would have this misconception of a website like a house. You build it once and you're done. But websites shift, the data changes, you update it, there's new content, there's things happening. And so that's the way it has been. I think in the future it's going to be even more like that. It's more of an organism, less of a thing. It's going to be constantly evolving, adapting. You'll probably have more reliance on standards, like brand standards, visual standards, certain sort of coding standards, and less reliance on somebody like Stewart. That's my sort of prediction for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're going to be right this time. I think this is the time you get it right, John. We'll come back. I'll come back in, let's say 4 years and we'll check in. We'll listen back
Right.
and we'll do a full comparison. I'm sure this won't haunt you at all. You'll be fine.
I know. I know when I have a falafel truck instead of a website development.
That's right. Stewart falafels. It'll be great. That's awesome. Well, cool. All right, John. Well, thank you for being here today. I mean, I hope associations, I hope they're all listening to this because it's wildly insightful and they have a completely accurate prediction of the future from you, which I think is great. So if nothing else, they've got that. But I think it's a time when associations are unsure. There's just they're just unsure. They're cautious. They're not sure what the next step is. And we know nobody wants to make a decision and have it be a mistake. And I think what we got out of this conversation with you today is some comfort and some solid answers on what this, is really looking like today and into the future. So thanks for taking a little bit of your time today to do that.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks for having me.